Hey you guys, welcome back. We did this once before, but our camera for whatever reason didn't work well. So it did part of it, didn't do part of it, and it was just a mess. The thing that was annoying is the hair was longer. So what I did, I went ahead and permed another mannequin. Hair's a little bit shorter, but I'm going to show you the result of the one we did before. And I'm going to, on this one, I'm going to do it again. This is cutting a bob on naturally curly hair. And of course we permed it to create that natural curl, but still, as you see, as the head curves around, all of this is about geometry and architecture. Basically, believe it or not, that's what hair cutting is about. This is a rounded surface. We want it to go straight down. You've got different angles, different things that you have to do. By the way, I don't want to forget, the book is out, you guys. Appreciate it if you'd order it. Anything that happens in the salon, it's in the book, pretty much. And the very last chapter is the one for you. It's everything about hair color. If you don't know how color is made, if it doesn't come out of your brain as far as I see that's how it was put together, it's going to be difficult for you to understand. You'll have an idea about color, but a good knowledge of color and what the results of your choices are. So the last chapter does that for you. It teaches you about color. Now you still have to learn product, you still have to learn hair. And all of that has to do with just practice, practice, practice. And what? Mannequins. See the result of a choice. Always, always the first color to leave is blue. The color red, you have to know how to change it. Yellow is the weakest. That's it. It's not, doesn't become any more difficult than that. On darker color, it's got the most blue, even though it is the first to leave. And there's a situation behind that when you see the formula for black, for the color black in the book. All right? Anyways, let's move forward with this. Oh, and by the way, get them from Barnes & Noble. They're a little bit easier than some of the other ones. But there is one in Europe that's labeling our book 5-star, which is kind of cool. Okay, anyways, let me show this to you. This is the one we did before. And you can see that it is a bob. Now remember, I know, you're going to say, oh, well, it's a little bit longer on side. I'm working like this, okay? Normally when you're working in front of the client and you have a mirror in front of you. So come on, give me a break. Learn the system, but use your mirror. Don't do it like I do it. I'm doing this for camera for you. But you know, you've got to, and you can see that that's in this area here. That's again, and I'll repeat it, off of that nape line. And there's something that you got to do to keep that from happening. But you can see pretty much that it's taken care of. But this is what you've got to take care of, whether it's curly or straight. You're always going to have this, all right? But the main thing with curly hair, you want to cut it dry. You don't want to get it wet. The reason for that is because, especially on naturally curly hair, each curl has its own growth pattern, has its own avenue that it's traveling, and they're not necessarily all the same. So one is going to hang a little bit differently. As you can see, these are up here, and one is going to hang down in this area, and they all hang or land on the bottom just a little bit differently. If you feel that you have to get it a little bit wet, that's exactly it. A little bit wet, damp, not wet. You just want to dampen it. Only to slightly loosen that curl, but that's it. If you get it wet, you've weighted the curl down. You've changed that pattern. So we want to keep the same curl pattern, because when they're wearing it dry, that curl pattern is what they're going to be wearing. All right, I can take that one, the other mannequin, and wet it down, and we'd end up with little longer pieces, because each curl falls differently. Some are just a little tighter. Some go this way, some go in the other direction. So you're going to have that. That's normal, that's natural. The one thing about this mannequin here is that it, like I said, it's shorter, so I'll be taking her up just a little higher. So the first thing you're going to do, you don't want all of the hair right there. Now, if the person has got hair beyond their bra strap, you want to separate it one more time. But I want to take it off the parietal line, and I'm going to bring that up. This is the parietal line and above is pretty much where most of the natural fall of the hair is at. And I'm going to review this again as far as the different parts of the head. If you need that, I do have that on video, identifying the different parts of the head. And because if you don't know where you're at, what are you doing? You're guessing. So how do you know where you're going? How do you know what the next direction is? And then how are you going to be able to answer those why questions? Why did that happen? Why did that do that? I didn't want it to do that, and it did it. So understand, on the head form, the occipital is where you have the most hair. That's the area right here behind the ear, up above the flat part of the temporal area. And of course, what we call behind the ear is down at the nape line. The reason for that is because of the cowlicks there. That's why we want you to recognize it. But directly behind the ear, up above the tip of the ear, to the center occipital, down into the center occipital, slightly traveling down into the nape. That's where you have most of your hair. Of course, at the vertex, just above the parietal line at the center back, into the crown, yes. That's where you have cowlicks. So these are factors, even with curly hair, even with that wave. Now this is just more wavy, not real tight, tense curls, because, I've kind of picked it out, so I brought it out a bit. But you want to pick that hair out. Be careful not to pull it. If it's real tangly, it's best to shampoo and condition at first and take those tangles out. Sit her under a dryer or use a diffuser to dry, to just kind of scrunch those curls in, but don't take them all the way up because you're going to tighten it a little bit more. Just kind of pop it up a bit and diffuse it. If you diffuse it as well and they've got really long hair, again, separate it, tip of the ear to the tip of the ear at the center occipital again. Now this isn't that long, so I'm not separating it that far. I'm just separating it at the parietal line. So what I'm going to do at this point, I'm going to go ahead and take my shear, and I want to show you a couple things, because this is what I did on the other one. I noticed that when, and I'm not criticizing, I'm not here to criticize, I'm here to teach you guys. Now, we're simple. We're not fancy, we don't have a fancy building, all of that, and we're never going to. I'm here to teach you, I'm not here to impress you. My cameraman is messing with the light, so that's what you're seeing. And I'm about to throw my shear at him, and if I hit him, it'll be a target hit. That's my husband. Okay, so, combed it out a bit. Now, one thing that I could do at that center nape is tilt her forward. I'm not going to at this point, not with curly hair. With straight hair, yes I would, but not with curly hair. All right, so I'm going to take it straight down, right at the center. Now this is what I see some people do. I wanted to show you that. They take it and then the palm is facing them. And they curl that hair up a little bit before they cut it. So that hair is curled forward, so they call it a palm to palm. And then they want to call it a zero haircut. Now, I want you to see what that does, because what it does is it pops the hair out. The way that you're supposed to do, or should do, a true zero blunt haircut, if you want it to be blunt, you take it and you hold it down. Now, I know you can't see it, but you hold it down, straight down, and bring your shear straight down. And you see now you see the less movement. See that movement there? Now we've got good solid movement. When you curl it up, believe it or not, a fraction of that hair is slightly shorter than the hair on the back. When hair is longer, when hair moves, it's going to be longer. when you create a shorter area in here, you're going to create a slight direction to it. It's either going to go up, down, front, or back. Because shorter hair supports longer hair. But when it moves, it becomes longer. Those are all just factors about it. So if I take this hair, move it over here, this hair, when it's cut, will be longer than this hair. That's what I mean by that. When it moves, it becomes longer. Okay, so I'm trying to, again, I'm working at an angle, but I'm going to have you see something in a minute. All right, so I'm going to take this just a tad shorter because I really want you to see a bob haircut. I've already shown you why you don't flip it out. So I'm going to take it, and I'm off to the side. Normally I start at the center back. So I'm just going to travel around. Now I know my fingers are out, all right, but I'm holding my shear straight down to cut it straight across, not palm to palm. See, that would have brought it the other way. So my shear is straight down. I'm not cutting it there. Now that I'm not leaning so much, I'm going to bring it over, and I know you can't see it because of my arm, and I tell you what I'm going to do so that you can see it. Just move over to the other side. Cameraman will adjust. But see, they're not sticking up. Now the movement you see is from the wave, but it's not flipping out. So, all right, see it? There you go. Shear is straight. Now you did practice looking at your shear, right? When you hold it with the balls of your fingers. This is the secondary position, primary position, secondary, and extended. The extended position is normally used around face framing. Primary position that's just what they're called, primary, secondary, and extended, because we're going to use the primary position normally here and in this angle as well. Secondary position is normally at the top or the bottom. Extended is when we're face framing. That's it. It's as simple as that. It doesn't become any more difficult than that. All right, so you can see it. Let me loosen this up just a scotch because I don't want to, come on. Oh, is that the wrong one? No, that's the right one. There. Bring it forward a bit. So you can see all the way underneath. All right? So I'm going to take it. I'm going to turn her around a bit. And I can see an area down here, and you can see it. I hope you can see it. There it is. So I'm going to take it, and I'm not going to push this hair into it, but I'm going to guide my comb into it. What happens is people push that down to match it, and you shouldn't, because what happens when hair travels, what? It becomes longer. This hair, as it comes up, though, moves away, this hair will be longer. So you have to be careful. Why? You want to know your why. The head curves in. This is out. This is in. That's why this would still be slightly longer. It doesn't change that program. See, it's knowing all the little ins and outs about hair cutting. But when you're cutting curly hair, okay, I'm just going to take this. Right now, I'm taking this guide. Again, secondary position. Come on, shear cut. All right, now I'm going to travel down into it. I'm not moving this. Traveling down into it to match it. And see me going all the way back to get it. What would I do otherwise? When it's time to do this, I would tilt the head forward. And what happens with that, all of these little longer hairs that you see underneath, all right, that is that square off of, here it is, the nape line. That's this hair right here. Head inverts in. If you hold it out, it's going to do what? Become longer than the hair on top of it, because this hair is off of this rounded area. There's your why. There is no other reason for that. All right? So, and some people, what they'll do is they'll go in and take this an inch higher than the other hair and call it an undercut. That still works the same way. But if you want volume, especially with fine hair, you want to bring all this down and then cut it straight across. Because this shorter hair then will push that hair out. And it will be, because this hair traveled around this rounded area. When it goes out, it's automatically undercut. All right, because then it will come out this way. That will be underneath it. And if you need to clean it up a little bit, you know, clean it up a little bit. But you can see that I still have, and then I'm not going to cut anymore. I'm not moving this other hair. When you have curly hair, you don't keep moving and pushing. And that's why you do it dry. So I'm getting rid of all of that at that nape line. Travel around a bit. And she's a little crooked, so let me fix her, all right? I'm going to bring her back up again, just a scotch. Okay, and I'm not combing this down. That's going to stay there. Okay, so now I'm going to do the sides. I'm going to stand her straight up again. The reason for that is the sides are flat. It's not rounded anymore. We don't have the problem that we have back in the back. All right, so I'm going to comb this down. I have my guide right there. Again, with the dry hair, you're going to treat it just a little bit more gentle. If they have a lot of hair, massive hair, separate this in half. Separate this in half. And then work it that way. Do the same thing. You know, clean that nape line before you drop this. So, you know, keep that in mind. So I'm going to just take this, and I'm just kind of holding it, not with a lot of stress. I can do it with my hand if I want. Again, secondary position. Got a little corner right here. Now, why is that corner there? Can anybody explain that to me? Anybody remember the different parts of the head, why there would be a corner here? The reason there'd be a corner here is because there's a corner here. All right, so that corner is that. It's just a little bit higher, but it's still a corner. So you're going to find that. I find that with longer hair, when I'm cutting a straight, longer hair straight, what ends up happening, one side may be a little longer than the other. What do people do? They try and even it out from the front. No. If you pull this out and you take this area here, you got a corner. Let me turn it so you can see it. You have a corner here, you have a corner there. So you're going to bring this straight down, and you will find, and I'll tell you right now, look at that. There's just an ever so slight corner still there if I pull the hair straight down. I'm not going to, because of this being naturally curly. If I have to later, there's just a little snip right there, I would do it, but I don't have to just yet. So what I'm going to do with the other mannequin, I'm gonna wet it down for you to see. But all right, so let me again, secondary position. I'm not. You notice I'm not pulling. I said that's a natural fall. I'm just holding it there. Don't pull it. Don't bring it down. Just hold it as a guide. See? Hold it. And you get a nice bob line as long as you don't stress the hair out, because those curls are all going to bounce back slightly different. You're going to wonder, why can't I get this cut? So cutting curly hair, and I can see that's a little bit shorter on one side, but that's, I'm not standing in front of it, you guys. I'm giving you the clues on how to do it. Okay, I'll even it up for you. And notice I'm not pulling it. I'm just cutting it to fit. And I've got just a scotch down here. And let that hang, because normally are they going to wear their hair wet or dry? Dry, exactly. So now I'm going to bring the top down. This is the natural fall. Part it down the center. And it doesn't look like I need to cut very much because this was pretty layered. But yeah, you would do the exact same thing. See, I've got just a little bit there. So it's almost, I want to call it like air cutting now. Not hair cutting, but air cutting. And bring this around. for you to see it. Yeah, there's nothing there that needs to be cut. Just a few little strays. But that's pretty much all you do with the bob haircut. And yeah, I'm just a little short of there, just a scotch longer here. And that's only because I'm not standing in front of it and I'm cutting it at an angle. Now, this is what happens when you cut it at an angle. See my shear? It should be like this. See it? I'm cutting it at an angle. Bring that elbow down. Keep that shear straight. Okay, these are factors, especially if you have to bend down to cut. I mean, do it yourself. Hold your shear like this and then bend down and watch what naturally happens. It will naturally just go down in that form. Bring that elbow down and you can go up and down and it stays the same. So those are factors about hair cutting. She's okay. I've got just a little corner right here, but on the other one that's got a little bit more hair, what I want to show you is also when I did the nape on my other mannequin, this one was shorter. It doesn't have as much hair. You'll see that the other hair is much fuller. And those are variables. I dampened this. Only dampened because of that being underneath. I could afford to do that because I wanted it to kind of pop in a little more, which was kind of a factor like in like undercutting as well. And then I laid this on top of it. So you can do that, but what I want you to see, and I haven't done it yet, so I'm hoping to prove a fact to you, that when you get the hair really wet, okay, so here's the other one. You can see she's got a lot more hair, a lot more curl. This is the one that we did our loop rod perm on. The one that I just did was a regular perm, white rods. So this one had a lot more curl. So I'm going to really wet this. And this is the test for me and a test for you to see. And you're going to see, all right, yep, 8 minutes, okay. See all those little longer pieces? That's why you don't get it wet. When it's dry, it lays better. But see all those little scragglers that are going to happen when it's wet. And what happens if you cut it wet, those little scragglers are going to be there when it's dry. So we got all these little long pieces, but because we cut it dry, I mean, it's not too bad. That's because we cut it dry and we cut it what? Without stress, without pulling that hair down. Those curls are there. They're going to bounce back up. So you want to make sure that you don't cut it wet. But if you find that they're really tangly, because curly hair tends to be tangly, oh God, look at that. There's a real long one there, and compared to the others. But when it's really tangly, my recommendation is shampoo it, condition it, pick it out, and then let it dry naturally. Sit them under a dryer, use a diffuser. You know what a diffuser is? It looks like a bowl with a bunch of little holes in the inside of it, and then you just put it on your blow dryer. And you can cup the hair a little bit, not a lot. Just cup it to where it goes into a comfortable curl, or pick it up like this, and then just slightly dry it. And you know, just hold the dryer towards it and stuff, and it'll be fine. But you can see all those little scragglers that showed up, and that has to do with wetting it. So when you wet it, you end up almost like with a disaster. So know how to cut curly hair, especially when they want it all one length. And this is why so many women don't get it cut, because it's like they can't ever get it. They say the word straight. Has nothing to do. You did cut it straight. You just either put too much stress or you did it wet. So do it dry, minimal stress. Just kind of holding it almost down. If you're going to do a bob haircut, unnaturally curly hair. I hope you've gotten some information out of this. I hope it helps. Subscribe. You know, tell your friends. Like I said, not here to impress you. I'm here to teach you. If you have any questions, somebody did want me to do a graduated cut vertically and horizontal. Let me tell you right now, if you do a graduated cut horizontally, you're going to have a whole bunch of lines. Horizontal lines are going to be there. And I'll do one on a straight-haired mannequin to show you. Another thing that I've got coming up, and I'll have it on a live model, is I'm going to be doing a haircut and a beard trim to show you the factors that you look for when you're trimming a beard. And how can somebody lose a little bit of weight and not look so heavy down here and maybe squared off, why we square off, why we don't. All of those little factors, and that goes into the barbering a little bit. If you guys want to learn a little bit more about razor hair cutting, you'd be more than glad to do a video on that. So just send me a note. Let me know what you want to see. I'll put it out there for you. And like I said, I hope I'm teaching you something. I love to teach. I love the industry. Been doing it for 54 years. What other job do you know that does that? Take care. God bless. See you again.